Here's how to solve Skyscrapers puzzles. The one I'll do today is the 4x4 easy skyscraper puzzle. The way skyscraper puzzles work, the numbers across here, this 2 means that as you look, the direction the arrow is pointing, so as you look across to the right, if you're standing here, you could see 2 skyscrapers. The skyscrapers in this puzzle are either 1 story, 2 story, 3 stories, or 4 stories high. So from here, I can look this way and I will see 2 skyscrapers going across. From here, when I look across, I can see only 1 skyscraper. Now, it's pretty obvious that if you can only see 1 skyscraper, this one must be the tallest. So this number is going to be a 4, 4 stories high. But before I get to that, I'm going to show you some basic clues to help you. So here are the basic skyscrapers clues. As I said before, if you see a 1 and it's saying you can only see 1 skyscraper this direction, you know the first box that you come to has to contain a 4 story high skyscraper. If you have a 4, you know that you can see all 4 skyscrapers. That means you can see the 1 story, the 2 story, the 3 story, and the 4 story. So if there's a 4, you know that they have to be in the order 1, 2, 3, 4. Because if you put 2 and then 1, you can't see the 1 because the 2 is blocking your view of it. Another thing, if you have 2, you know that you can see 2 skyscrapers across here. You know this first one cannot be a 4. Because if it was a 4, you could only see one thing. And so if there's ever a 2, you know that you can see 1, 2, or 3 can be in this box. You don't know which it is, but it's got to be one of those. And if there's a 3, you know that it has to be 1 or 2 in this box. You can't put a 3 in this box. If you put a 3 in this box, the most you could see is 2 skyscrapers because you'd see the 3, and then somewhere over here you'd see the 4, but the 1 and the 2 would be hidden. So those are some basic hints to get you started. Now let's go ahead and solve this puzzle. Using those clues, right off the bat, here's a 1. I know that that's going to be 4. That has to be a 4-story high skyscraper. If you look down here, here's a 4. That tells me I can see 4 skyscrapers from here. Well, it has to be in this order: 1, 2, 3, and 4. If we look up here, here's a 4. So looking the direction this arrow is pointing, we already know anytime it's a 4, it has to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll go ahead and put those in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now up and down, if I look here, well, first of all, going across, I know this has to be 1, 2, or 3, and this has to be 1, 2, or 3, according to that 2 and that 2. And the same thing with here. According to this 2 and this 2, that's 1, 2, or 3, and that's 1, 2, or 3. So we need some other clues. If we look across the top, working up and down, if this is a 3, remember 3 always has to be 1 or 2. And this is a 3, 3 has to be 1 or 2. And we know that 1 is always going to be 4. And so 1 and 2 are used up between these two 3's, 1 and 2. That tells me this one has to be 3. And now I can just fill in 1, 2, 3, 4. And here, oh, this is a 1. Well, I know if that has to be 1 or 2, it can't be a 1. There's already a 1 in this column. So this has to be 2. This has to be 1. 1, 2, 3. This has to be a 4. And this one, the only thing left here, there is a 1. There's a 1 in every row except for that one. And now 1, 2, this has to be a 3. And we just solved the puzzle, and it worked out. So now, that's how you solve these puzzles. I think I'll solve maybe 2 or 3 just to give you, a little bit of practice, make sure you get the idea. So, here we have a puzzle. We have 3 and 3 side by side. Well, I know right off the bat that's got to be 1 or 2. 1 or 2. That's the way the 3's work. Over here, If that's a 1, as you remember, 1 means that this number has to be 4. So, if the 4 is used up and the 1 and 2 are used up, that means this has to be a 3. Right here we have the same situation. We have 3 and a 3 in the same column. If you have a 3 and a 3 in the same column, 1 and 2, and that would mean this has to be 1 and 2. Here's the 1. We always know that the 1 is going to be 4 because it's got to be a 4-story building. If you look from here, if there's a 4-story building, you can't see the shorter buildings behind it. So there's 1 and 2, 1 and 2. That tells me this one has to be a 3. And now over here we have the same situation. We know that this has to be a 1 or a 2, and this has to be a 1 or a 2. 1 or 2, 1 or 2. And this 3 has to be a 1 or a 2. This 2, we know that's got to be 1, 2, or 3. And this 2 has to be 1, 2, or 3. Now when we look at it though, the 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, these two fill up. If 1 is here, 2 is here. If 1 is here, 2 is here. So 1 and 2 are used up. That tells me this one has to be a 3. And same thing here, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. That tells me this one has to be a 3. Another way to tell that is you've got 3 in the first column, 3 in the second column, 3 in the third column. There's got to be a 3 in the fourth column. The only place that can be a 3 is right here. Now, if I want to go across from this 3, this direction, I'm either going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or I'll go 2, 1, 3, 4. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, that tells me that's wrong. This 3 glowed red. It says it can't be 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, why is that? Well, if we look across this way, if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see, looking this direction, the direction the arrow is pointing, you can see all 4 of the skyscrapers. So instead of being 1, 2, that tells me this has to be a 2, and this has to be a 1. If that's a 2, this is a 1. Now, up here it's the same situation. Looking this way, I need to be able to see 3 skyscrapers. Remember, if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll be able to see all 4 skyscrapers, and this number would have to be a 4. So I must put the 2 first. You won't be able to see the 1 because the 2 is blocking the view of it. All right, now in the middle, let's see what we have to work with. Oh, also I have to do this, 2. If that's a 2, this is a 1. All right, now in the middle, I can see 1, 3. That tells me this must be a 2 or a 4. I'm going to go ahead and put them in so you can see them. And this has to be a 2 or a 4. And this has to be a 2 or a 4. And this has to be a 2 or a 4. Now, all we have to do is do some thinking. If we look across this direction, if I can see 2 skyscrapers, that means I can see this 3, and I'll be able to see a 4. Now, if I put a 2 here, I won't see that 2. All I'll see is 3 and 4. So, for looking from this 2, I can't tell if the 4 is here or there. Let's look from this direction. I need to see 3 skyscrapers looking to the left from here. If I put a 1 here, if I put a 4 right here, 1, 4, that tells me I can only see 2 skyscrapers from here. I'm supposed to see 3. So I know that 4 is wrong. So that has to be a 2. And there's a 4. And let's see, looking upward, well, if this 1 is used, and this 2 is used, and this 3 is used, that tells me this must be a 4. And same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that one's done, and it should say it's solved correctly. Yes, it is. All right, I will go ahead and solve one more puzzle just to give you, see if there's anything else I can point out that I didn't do before. All right, this one doesn't have any 4s in it. Those 4s were really helpful, but it does have 1s. Every place there's a 1, you know that I'm going to put a number 4. So here's a 1, it takes a 4. Here's a 1, it takes a 4. Now I have 3 4s. If I have 3 4s, I know where the 4th 4 has to go. It has to be in this column, and it has to be in this row. So that means that 4, automatically I know it goes there. Now, the next easiest thing for me to fill in, after I do all my 1s and my 4s, are the 3s, because I know 3s are 1 and 2. So I'll go ahead and put 1 and 2 in on all my 3s. So I'll say this is a 1 or 2, and this is a 1 or a 2. And I could fill in this one, and this one, and this one, but I'm not going to, because already I know what this answer is. So if I look here, this is 1, 2. Down here has to be a 3, and that's a 4. The reason it has to be a 3 is because the 1 and the 2 are used up. Now, 3 and 4, that tells me these have to be 1 or 2. Well, I know that, I'll go ahead and put them in for now. This has to be 1 or 2, and this has to be 1 or 2. Now, it would be 1, 2, or 3, but that 3 is already used up. So I know it's not the 3. Here is a 3. I know that this one has to be 1 or 2. Now, in this column, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. That tells me that this one right here is going to be a 3, because 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now I see that was 1 and 2. I'll go ahead and put the 1 and 2 right here. And now let's keep looking. Here's a 3. All 3s have to be 1 and 2. We know that. 1 or 2, I should say. Now, if we have 1 and 2 there, 1 and 2 there, and a 4 over here, that means this one has to be a 3. And now that tells me that in this column we have 3 and 4 used up. This one has to be 1 or 2. Now in this row we have 1 and 2, and we have a 4. That says the only thing left right here is the 3. And now we've got just 1s and 2s left. So let's do what we did before. I'll start right here and look upward. From here I need to see 3 skyscrapers. If I put a 1 here, I'll see 1, 3, and 4. If I put a 2 here, I'll see 2, 3, and 4. So I don't know which one it's going to be. Let's look across this way. If I look across this way, I need to see 3 skyscrapers. If I put 1 here, 2 here, and 4 here, 1, 2, 4, I will see 3. So I know that it goes 1, 2. If I put a 2 here, I wouldn't be able to see this 1, and all I would see is the 2 and the 4, and so that would be a 2. So I know it has to be 1, 2. And now these columns only have one thing left. The 1 is used, so this has to be a 2. The 2 is used, so this has to be a 1. Now let's work across here. There are 3 skyscrapers that can be seen looking this direction. Well, I know that if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, I would be able to see all 4 skyscrapers. I know it can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, so it must be 2, 1, 3, 4. Now I can just work my way up and down. The 1 is used, so this has to be a 2. The 2 is used, so this has to be a 1. And I am done solving that puzzle. These puzzles can be found by Googling Skyscrapers puzzle. They are a lot of fun. You just imagine that you're looking at 4 skyscrapers of varying heights, and you can see a certain number of them from the side. Remember the what am I trying to say? The clues that you want are located right here. I'll leave this up here at the end for a little while so you can see it. But if you have a 1, you know that the 4-story skyscraper has to be right in front of your face and you can't see anything else. So as long as you know these clues for the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 4, you have a pretty good starting point. And anyway, Google Skyscrapers puzzles. They're fun, and these are easy. Later I'll make a video of the normal ones and then maybe hard. But they're great puzzles. Have fun with them.